Welcome to There Is a Method to the Madness. I am Rob Maxwell and I am an exercise physiologist. In this podcast, I explore with you why things may or may not work in the realm of physical fitness, and I use science to explain what you really need to know about the current events and fads in fitness and what you should simply ignore. Hence the name, The Method to the Madness. But before I get into today's topic, I want to thank our sponsors, Jonathan and Lyn Gildon at the Gildon Group Realty Pros. They have currently over 275-star reviews on Zillow. I know them. They are hustlers. They work hard. I absolutely vouch for them. They are my go-tos. They're great. If you need help selling your house, listing it, or if you need help buying a new place, give them a shout. I will put their telephone number and their website in the show notes. You can simply click and go. All right, so picking back up on this week's theme, exercise is medicine. I believe it absolutely is. I learned from my own experiences how well that really holds true. Okay, so when I went back to school, I had my degree in psychology and I went back for a graduate degree in exercise physiology, and that was in the early 90s, and that was still a big theme, that being exercise is medicine. That the wellness movement was getting pretty hot. Unfortunately, it fizzled out, but for those that don't really know what that means, there was a big movement in the 80s and 90s for corporate wellness, and that was where the big corporations would put health clubs on their premises and they would reward people to go to work and work out at the facility, and the belief was that a healthy, fit employee was a better employee. And by the way, that belief is absolutely true. So wellness, corporate wellness definitely has been phased out, but it's not because it doesn't work. Absolutely true. And it was a big push during those days with that, and exercise as medicine was one of the themes. So just so you know, it kind of faded out due to, unfortunately, money had nothing to do with results. And it's too bad. A lot of people were going to school just to become wellness coordinators at big companies, and I had some friends that went to work for Disney and a couple of the others, and we really thought it was going to take off, and it's pretty sad that it didn't. But in any event, that was the big push in the 80s and 90s, and there was a lot of exercise as medicine talk. Now that theme stayed alive, thank goodness, as I said in the last podcast, and if you didn't check it out, please do. It's all about exercise addiction and whether or not there is such a thing as a positive addiction. So exercise as medicine is still being pushed around by the American College of Sports Medicine. It is one of their themes. They have an EIM platform that we people certified through the American College of Sports Medicine can utilize, and it's pretty cool. And it's got all these different conditions that exercise can treat, so to say. And so that's kind of like taking it formally, which is good. And I'm using it in that regard, but I'm also using it informally, where I believe that exercise is medicine and it can really cure or definitely help you with whatever ails you. And I mean whatever ails you, it can help you. And I believe it's absolutely been a lifesaver for me and a life changer for me. And, ultimately I want to talk about that theme a little bit, like why and how we can utilize this, and then what might be some of the pitfalls that get you into trouble where you don't end up feeling like I do about exercise. Okay? So let me first take you way, way, way back and, to a not too glorious time in my life. So in my 20s, before I went back to school to become an exercise physiologist and get my graduate degree, I was a psychology student, and I loved it. It was a great degree, but I mean, so that's what I was doing for a living, and I only say that because of the fact I wasn't formally in this career yet. So now I'm giving you a story of how I used exercise long before I ever got paid for exercise. So I was, again, a psychology student, but then I graduated and I was working in the field of psychology. And working out was my hobby. I mean, that's just what I did. I loved it. I started identifying it around maybe the age 18, maybe 19. Started becoming a regular gym user around 19, and then, really, thankfully, never looked back. I had this old gym I used to work out in New Smyrna, and it really became my medicine. And this is long before I knew about the formal benefits. I just know how it made me feel. It made me feel better about myself. I definitely got stronger. I increased my muscle mass and definition, which people like to call tone. And tone simply really stands for a partially contracted muscle. But I know what people mean when they say they want to be more toned. It absolutely did that. It helped me with my goal setting, helped me with my confidence, my self-esteem, and I'm sure it helped me with all the formal things, as far as medical goes, although I doubt that I ever tested those things, but that would be like lipid profiles and all that. I'm sure it did. I mean, because I know the research says exercise absolutely helps with all that. It's just in your 20s. I don't think too many of us were thinking about that or worried about that at that point. So it definitely was my go-to. And I said earlier, my not too glorious moments, I partied a lot in my late teens and early 20s, and I had to stop. I partied a lot, and I drank too much, and I was still a student for part of it, and then, again, not a student for the other part, but I'm just kind of giving you my life prior to graduate school. And, I would feel really bad after a night of drinking, like I think a lot of people do. And I can just remember, and I'm not trying to glorify this or make it sound like, oh, go ahead and drink and then work it off the next day. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just trying to get you to understand that I knew even then what my go-to was, what my real medicine was, which was exercise. But when I went out and overdid it, and I'd wake up the next day, one of the first things, if not the very first thing I would want to do was go to the gym. And there just was a purification involved in it, mentally, physically, and spiritually. I just wanted to get myself right. And the gym was my church. The gym was where I was able to do it. And I'd feel just bad, I'd feel maybe remorseful, feel whatever, because I was also a very good student in college. I was an A student. I ended up graduating magna cum laude. Not bragging, probably comes across that way, but my point is even when I partied, I wasn't this lackadaisical kid who didn't have responsibilities. I was meeting all my responsibilities. I was going to work. I was studying my butt off because I believe that's the only way to make good grades. But I also had a desire to overdo it when I partied. And so it was all of those things. And I never liked the fact that I could be doing so good and then do something stupid by partying the night before, and it's not good for the health, right? So that was my story then. And I knew working out would make me feel better, long-term and short-term. Now, in those mornings and days, it was short-term. I just wanted to go get myself right. And I can remember a couple of my friends at the gym even then going, they knew, I talked to them a little bit, and they said, so, yeah, I know that feeling, when you come in, you just feel better, you sweat everything out. And I'd be like, yeah, so it was a common thing, I think, in college, maybe, I don't know, but I do know it was common around there. And I do know that even then, the seed got planted as far as how working out makes me feel. And then I love to sweat. To this day, I still do. It kind of baffles me when sometimes people complain, oh, it's hot, I don't like the sweat. And it's well, it's sweating is so good for you. You get out all the impurities. It really is good to sweat. So naturally, it's, you want to make sure you hydrate when you're working out outside or doing cardio outside in a hot day, of course. But sweating, especially indoors, is such a purification to me. Like, I don't like fans on me. I hate it. So I got that then. Plus, I would leave the gym and I'd feel like, okay, the world is right again. I got my fix, which is my pill, and my pill is exercise, and now all is right with the world. And eventually I just grew out of that, where it didn't have to be so extreme. Well, I shouldn't completely say I grew out of it. I stopped, I don't think we just grow out of it. There was a conscious decision that I don't want to do this anymore. It's not good for my health and fitness and soul and psyche. And so, I quit the drinking, and exercise, though, still to this day remains my medicine. So I'm going to throw in another philosophical slogan that I really like, and that is, you never step into the same river twice. It's a Stoic philosopher that said it, and I want to say who I think it is, but then I don't, because I don't want it to be wrong. But it's one of the famous ones, and he said that, and it is such a powerful statement. And you're thinking, Rob, what does this have to do with exercise as medicine and you literally talking about exercise being your pill? Here's how. So this morning I actually used that for the first time in a while. Like, I had to get myself physically right, at least short term. So a few weeks ago I did something dumb, and I kind of flared up my knee, and I know what I did, and it just wasn't very smart. It just wasn't me using the best common sense. And thankfully for you, the listeners, and me and the clients, I always prescribe better exercise than sometimes I do for myself. But anyway, I tweaked my knee a little bit. No big deal. Hopefully, getting it on the mend here. It's been a little bit off and on, but yesterday I tweaked it again a little bit yesterday. And so I knew coming to the gym today, like I hosted a powerlifting event for the senior games, and it was really, really cool. I had some exercise time in the morning, more than usual, because we didn't have clients before the powerlifting event, and I always get up around 6, so I had a little more time. And I wanted to just get to the gym to get working on feeling better, okay? Exercise is medicine. I don't like the fact that I've tweaked my knee and I'm unable to run for the next few days and bike and the things I like, because it's a little tweaked. Again, nothing to worry about. I know how to get it right, and I will. But I wanted to go start the mending process, okay? Start the process that I know very well and make myself feel better. So that's where that second slogan comes in. You don't step in the same river twice. And we say that to clients a lot. What that means is we're different people day to day. I mean, we are different. And when we have different aches and pains, and pretty much everybody does, even the young kids that we work with, the 18 and 19-year-olds, and I'm not even talking about the ones of late in the last year that tore their ACL and we did major rehab with. No, I'm talking about just normal aches and pains of a kid who hasn't even hit 20 yet, all right? And as we age, aches and pains are part of the process. I mean, we're going to get them, And there's 2 ways to handle them. Well, there's 3 ways. You can do nothing about them. You can give into them per se and kind of do nothing about them. Or, you can attack them, which is good. But at the same time, that is good. But at the same time, we have to learn that to make something better, we can't make it worse. And so that's where the saying, you don't step into the same river twice, comes in. Because a lot of times people will think, well, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to do what I normally do. Well, you're going to normally do that prior to hurting your knee, or you're going to normally do that prior to hurting your shoulder, or you're going to normally do that prior to not having, prior to having a full night's sleep, or you're going to do that prior to your kid being sick for the last 3 days, or you're going to do that before you had COVID. Get it? So we're not the same person. We keep charts, and I think it's important to have a workout plan set up for somebody, an idea, and then to keep documentation on what they did. Sure. And sometimes, though, our clients get too fixated on that. They get more fixated than us. Oh, did I do more this time? It's like, well, yeah or no. And then trying to get them to understand you don't step in the same river twice. Let's always strive to do the best we can at the moment. And if we do that, we're going to get better every day and continue on. And I have a lot of experience in that, not only with myself, but with other people. I have a ton of experience, actually. And I think that's one of my strengths as a trainer. I go in with an idea, a workout plan, and my little chart, you guys who work out with me see it. And I'll look at it and I'll talk, but one of the first things I'll say is, what's going on? How's it going? Anything bugging you? All that stuff matters. And then we learn to improvise the workout, because you want somebody to get the very best workout they can and not base it on who they were 48 hours ago, because believe it or not, there could be some changes, good or bad. So sometimes the resistance we use, if not all the time, can be drastically different based on the day. Our mile paces we run at might be drastically different based on the day. So we have to be able to also know what to look for and know what to feel. All right. So in the case with me, for example, I was like, okay, so let me see how the knee feels on the recumbent bike. Oh, nope, not the range of motion. I'm not going to push it. How do I know? Because I had pain at certain ranges of motion. So right there, my experience says, nope, not today. That's okay. Not the end of the world. There's other ways to move the legs, and that's how we always need to think about it. And I'm just giving you my examples so you can make this work for whatever you have going on, anything going on. So then I went to the ab and adduction machine for the hips. Said this shouldn't aggravate the knee whatsoever, because I'm going out, I'm going in. And sure enough, no issues at all. So I did a few sets of each, going up each time, not really worrying about what weight to start at, just using a little common sense, focusing on the form, increasing as I can, because you don't step in the same river twice. So as I can, meaning am I able to do 12 reps with this now? If I am, okay, maybe I can go up a little. It's all based on the day. Did a few sets of that and said, okay, well, that's good. And by the way, flaring up your knee or your shoulder, a lot of people's go-to is, well, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to exercise. That is just foolish. That's ignorant. You don't know better. Like any little thing I did today to get blood flow to the area helped that area for sure. It is not better just to rest it. When we allied health professionals say rest something, what we really mean is rest it from what's hurting it. But anything that's not hurting it is helping it. Did you hear that? That's very, very important. Rest it from what's hurting it. Anything that is not hurting it is helping it. Remember that. It's not better just to do nothing. So then I slid next door to the leg extension. I thought, I don't know, this one's going to be a little iffy. It wasn't. It was okay. Certain ranges of motion. I realized like at the very bottom felt a little twinge. At the very top felt a little twinge. Never step in the same river twice. This is the range of motion my knee's giving me today. Let's work right there in the middle ranges. Do some range of motion sets. Increase as I can with the load, not compromising form. Bing, bang, boom, success. Move to the next one. Leg curl. Oh, flexing that knee's been what's really bugging me. Yep, sure enough. Not able to have the range of motion the leg extension had, but I found a range of motion that worked in. Once again, it was more in the middle, not at the very top, not at the very bottom. Was able to do a few sets where I actually felt the hamstring engage, which is a beautiful thing. Felt it engage and say, okay, get some blood flow to the area, strengthen up those hamstrings. Was able to do it. Slid next door to the seated calf. Bending that knee in the position wasn't ideal. I found, though, if I raised the lever a little bit, was able to do it, was able to do a sit. Big bang boom, there you go. Got the glutes done, got the adductors done, leg extension, leg curl done, now seated calf. And I thought, I'm going to try some TRX squat to see if I have any range of motion. Sure enough, I did. It was okay. And again, I really was careful with what I did. I knew what I was looking for. I knew what to look for in pain, and I followed that. So I feel better, and I feel like, okay, if I continue on this and not do anything that hurts it, my knee's going to get a lot better faster than if I did nothing. And I think almost everybody knows that. I think everybody knows that listening to the podcast. You know, before I went into psychology, I almost went into physical therapy because I thought it was going to be such a cool field, and it is in some regards. And, you know, I knew that doing that helped people through their sports injuries, and I was greatly into sports. But then I saw that, I don't know, I didn't like some of the trends that was going in, and it looked like it was really moving away from sports injuries and getting into other things. So I didn't go that route. But in a way I did when I got my master's in exercise physiology, because I found that I really have worked with a lot of rehab and prehab since I started my business. So in a way I kind of did get into it, the parts that I really like. But there's no question that exercise is medicine for what ails us musculoskeletal wise. There's absolutely no question about it. It left me feeling better today. Very similar feeling to the old 22-year-old that partied too much and then went to the gym and wanted to sweat out all the impurities. A very similar feeling. It's like, okay, so in a way did something stupid, did an exercise, challenging myself, not really following the principles I spoke of 2 weeks ago of progression, and tweaked it, and I was like, I knew it, and then the next day, so, now I pay the price. It's like, I can pull myself out of it, and the best way to do that is to understand the rules I know, and to understand that exercise absolutely is medicine, and it will absolutely help me get back on track quicker. And, I really hope you got something out of today's message, because I really think it's important. And apply it. Apply it to whatever ails you. A lot of times we hear that I don't feel good. I didn't sleep good. I was up all night. My kids were sick. Sometimes people are hungover themselves. Sometimes people aren't sleeping well. There's menopause issues. There's all these different issues that are going to change how we feel day to day. And that's why it's very important to give good feedback to us at the gym. And if you work out with somebody else, to your trainer, let them know what's going on, because I'm sure if they know what they're doing, they know how to change your workout around. You don't have to be like doing the same thing all the time and doing your best workout when you're feeling at your best. That's not the way it works. It really comes down to doing the best you can that day. One day at a time. And then when you wake up the next day, do the same thing. Do the best you can that day. I promise you, if you do that day in and day out, you'll have a hell of a year, and that year will turn into another year, and so on and so on. That's how you do it. One day at a time. Okay? And speaking of exercise is medicine, absolutely, in my opinion, and in the opinion of studies, chiropractic medicine is a great way to help you. I believe in it. I really do. I've had many chiropractors. I think adjusting the body, getting yourself into alignment is just going to speed up any healing that you need, anything going on. It absolutely helps. And Doris Antos of Ormond Beach is absolutely one of the best. Her reputation's great. I mean, listening to this, you probably have heard of her. She has a great reputation. Again, she's up in Ormond Beach. She graduated from Palmer, which is one of the better chiropractic schools, and it's located right here in Port Orange. And I absolutely vouch for her. She does all kinds of different things. She does laser therapy, chiropractic manipulation, non-surgical spinal decompression, all these different things. But again, it's like everything. She's a pro. You go to her, you tell her what's going on, because you don't step in the same river twice. She's not just going to do some, same treatment she does for everybody. She's going to listen to you, understand where you're at, and decide what form of chiropractic care you need. And that's so important. We're not all carbon copies of each other. Her information can be located in the show notes, because I know if I read out her phone number, chances are you're not writing it down. So just go to the show notes wherever you're listening to this podcast. It'll be listed. All right. Until next time, be max fit and be max well.